I stood in that courtroom, abandoned by everyone I loved, except her, my 12-year-old daughter, the only one who dared to speak up. What happened next would change our lives forever. This is a story about betrayal, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a parent and child. Asterisk. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe, hit the like button, and turn on notifications. Stories like this remind us what truly matters. Don't miss out on more heartfelt journeys. The day everything fell apart. My name is Daniel Carter, and this wasn't how my life was supposed to go. The courtroom felt like a freezer, the kind of cold that doesn't just cling to your skin, but burrows deep into your bones. I shifted in my seat, my dress shirt sticking to my back despite the chill. Across from me, Lisa, my ex-wife, sat perfectly composed, her lawyer murmuring something in her ear. She looked polished, untouchable, like she hadn't just spent the last 6 months painting me as some kind of monster. And beside her, of all people, was my brother, Mark, my own flesh and blood, the guy who used to sneak me cookies when Mom wasn't looking, who taught me how to throw a football, who stood by me when Dad walked out. Now, he was standing in front of a judge, testifying that I was unstable, that I wasn't fit to be a father. The judge adjusted his glasses and cleared his throat. Mr. Carter, given the allegations against you, the anger issues, the erratic behavior, the court is inclined to grant full custody to Ms. Reynolds unless you can provide substantial evidence refuting these claims. My stomach dropped. Anger issues? Erratic behavior? None of it was true. Lisa had spun this whole story after I lost my job, after the savings started drying up, after she realized divorce meant splitting everything. She wanted the house, the money, and worst of all, she wanted Mia. I opened my mouth to argue, but before I could speak, a voice cut through the heavy silence. Daddy's not unstable. Every head in the courtroom turned. My daughter, Mia, my 12-year-old girl with her wild curls and stubborn chin, stood up in the back row. Her hands were balled into fists at her sides, her cheeks flushed. The judge raised an eyebrow. Young lady, you need to sit down. But Mia didn't move. He's the only one who's ever been there for me. Her voice cracked, but it didn't waver. Lisa's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, this is highly inappropriate. Aunt Lisa lies. Mia shouted, her eyes filling with tears. She told me if I didn't say, Daddy yelled at me, I'd never see Pepper again. A murmur rippled through the room. Pepper was Mia's dog, a scrappy little mutt we'd rescued 3 years ago. Lisa had taken him in the divorce, and Mia had been heartbroken. Lisa's face went pale. That's not true, she hissed, but her voice lacked its usual sharpness. Mark, my own brother, looked like he'd been slapped. He turned to Lisa, his expression twisting in confusion. You told me Daniel threatened her, he said slowly. You said he... I said what needed to be said. Lisa snapped under her breath. The judge banged his gavel. Enough. He fixed his gaze on Mia. Young lady, do you understand how serious this is? Mia swallowed hard but nodded. I just want to live with my dad. And just like that, the entire case tilted on its axis. I stare at my daughter, this tiny, fierce girl who just stood up in a room full of adults and called out the lies. My throat tightened. All those nights I'd spent wondering if I was failing her, if I was enough, and here she was fighting for me when no one else would. But the relief was short-lived. Lisa's lawyer was already whispering furiously to her, no doubt scrambling to spin this. The judge called for a recess, his expression unreadable, as we filed out of the courtroom. Mia grabbed my hand, her fingers trembling. Are we going to be okay, Daddy? I squeezed her hand, forcing a smile. Yeah, sweetheart, we're going to be okay. But the truth was, I had no idea, because Lisa wasn't the type to back down. And now that Mia had spoken up, I didn't know what she'd do next. The truth comes out. The moment the judge called for recess, the courtroom erupted into chaos. Lawyers huddled together, voices rising in sharp whispers. Reporters, those vultures who'd been circling since the custody battle made local news, scribbled furiously in their notepads. And Lisa, my ex-wife, looked at me with a glare so venomous I half expected her to lunge across the room. But Mia didn't flinch. She stood beside me, her small hand gripping mine like an anchor in a storm. I could feel her trembling, but her chin stayed up. My brave girl. Mark, my brother, looked like he was about to be sick. He kept opening his mouth like he wanted to say something, then closing it again. Finally, he stepped forward. Daniel, I held up a hand. Don't. The betrayal was still too fresh, too raw. He had stood in front of Judge and painted me as some kind of unstable deadbeat. And for what? Because Lisa had whispered in his ear? Because he believed her over me? Mia tugged my sleeve. Daddy, I'm scared, she whispered. I knelt down so we were eye level. Listen to me. You did the right thing. No matter what happens next, I'm so proud of you. I brushed a tear from her cheek. But I need you to be strong for just a little longer, okay? She nodded, sniffling. The bailiff reappeared. Court's back in session. As we took our seats, the judge sighed like he'd aged 10 years in the last 5 minutes. Given the unexpected testimony, he said, glancing at Mia, I'm ordering a temporary pause in these proceedings. Child Protective Services will need to investigate these allegations before we proceed. Lisa shot to her feet. Your Honor, this is ridiculous. A child's outburst shouldn't derail. Ms. Reynolds, the judge cut in, his voice sharp. If there's any truth to the claim that you coerced your daughter into lying under threat, that is a very serious matter. Lisa's lawyer quickly pulled her back down, murmuring something urgent in her ear. Then the impossible happened. Mark stood up. Your Honor, he said, his voice rough, I need to amend my earlier statement. Lisa whipped her head toward him, her eyes blazing. Mark, sit down, she hissed, but he ignored her. I think I may have been misled about my brother's behavior. The air left my lungs in a rush. The judge leaned forward. Explain. Mark ran a hand over his face. Lisa told me Daniel had been yelling at Mia, that he was unstable after losing his job. She said she was worried for Mia's safety. But now... He glanced at Mia, then at me. Now I'm not so sure. Lisa looked like she was about to explode. You traitor, she spat. The judge banged his gavel. That's enough. He turned to me. Mr. Carter, given these developments, I'm granting you temporary custody of your daughter pending CPS's investigation. Ms. Reynolds, you will have supervised visitation only until this matter is resolved. Lisa's face went slack with shock. Mia threw her arms around me, burying her face in my shoulder. I held her tight, relief and disbelief crashing over me in waves. We had won, for now, but as we walked out of the courtroom, Lisa grabbed my arm, her nails digging into my skin. This isn't over, she whispered, her voice trembling with rage. You think you've won? You have no idea what I'm capable of. I pulled away, keeping Mia close. Stay away from us, Lisa. She smiled then, a cold, hollow thing that made my blood run cold. We'll see. Outside, the sunlight felt too bright, too harsh. Mia clung to my hand as we walked to the car. Daddy, she said quietly, is Mommy gonna be mad at me? I crouched down, cupping her face in my hands. None of this is your fault, okay? You told the truth. That's all that matters. She nodded, but her eyes were still scared. That night, after tucking me into bed, I sat on the couch, staring at my phone. Mark had called 3 times. I hadn't answered. Part of me wanted to scream at him, to demand how he could betray me like that. But another part, a smaller, quieter part, wondered if he'd really believed Lisa's lies or if he'd just been afraid. Before I could decide whether to call him back, my phone buzzed with a new message. Unknown number. I opened it, and my heart stopped. It was a photo of Mia, taken through her bedroom window. The caption read, "Drop the case, or next time I won't just be watching." The phone slipped from my fingers. Someone had been outside our house. Someone was threatening my daughter, and I had a terrible feeling I knew exactly who was behind it. The threat. My hand shook as I picked up a phone from where it had fallen on the carpet. The image of Mia's bedroom window glared back at me, the shadowy figure just outside the frame making my stomach twist. That could have been taken tonight, right now, while I was sitting in the living room, completely unaware. I sprinted down the hallway, nearly tripping over my own feet in my panic. Mia's door was slightly ajar, just as I'd left it after tucking her in. The soft glow of her nightlight spilled into the hallway. "Mia," I whispered, pushing the door open further. She stirred slightly, her curls messy against the pillow. "Daddy," she mumbled, half asleep. I forced myself to take a slow breath. "Just checking on you, sweetheart. Go back to sleep." I walked to her window, my pulse pounding in my ears as I examined the latch. Locked. The curtains were drawn. But someone had been out there. Someone had taken that photo. Back in the living room, I called the police with trembling fingers. The officer who arrived took one look at the photo, and his expression turned grim. "We'll send a patrol car to circle the neighborhood tonight," he assured me, taking my statement. "But, Mr. Carter, given the custody situation, you should consider that this might be connected." I knew exactly what he meant. "Lisa," after the officer left, I checked every window, every door locked twice. Then I dragged a kitchen chair into Mia's room, determined to stay awake all night if I had to. Sleep never came. Every creak of the house, every rustle of leaves outside had me jumping to my feet. At some point in the early morning hours, Mia woke up and found me sitting vigil by her window. "Daddy? What's wrong?" I hesitated. She'd been through so much already, but she deserved the truth. "Someone sent me a scary message tonight," I said carefully. "About you, so I'm just making sure we're safe." Her eyes widened. "Was it Mommy?" The question hit me like a punch to the gut. Even Mia suspected. "I don't know, baby, but the police are going to help us figure it out." Morning came slowly. I called my lawyer first thing, forwarding the threatening message. His response was immediate. "This changes everything. We're going back to court today." As I was making me a breakfast, my phone rang again. "Mark." This time I answered. "Daniel, thank God." His voice crackled through the line. "I've been trying to reach you all night. Lisa's boyfriend, that guy Jason. He came by my place last night asking weird questions about your schedule, about Mia's school." My blood ran cold. "What did you tell him?" "Nothing. I threw him out. But Daniel, I think he's dangerous." Mark's voice broke. "I'm so sorry. I should never have believed Lisa. I was stupid and scared and—" "Save it." I snapped, though part of me ached to the pain in his voice. "Right now, I need to know everything about this Jason guy." According to Mark, Jason was Lisa's new boyfriend, an ex-con with a record for assault. He'd only been in the picture a few months, but already had Lisa wrapped around his finger. I hung up just as my lawyer called back. "Judge wants to see you in his chambers in an hour. Bring Mia." The courthouse felt different this time. Colder, more dangerous. The judge took one look at the threatening message, and his face darkened. "This crosses a line," he growled. "I'm issuing a restraining order against Ms. Reynolds and this Jason individual. Full custody remains with you, Mr. Carter, until further notice." But as we left the courthouse, something felt off. The parking lot was too quiet. My car was parked at the far end, isolated. I tightened my grip on Mia's hand. "Let's hurry, okay?" We were halfway to the car when I saw it. A dark figure leaning against a motorcycle near the exit. Sunglasses, leather jacket, watching us. Jason. Mia gasped. "Daddy." "Don't look," I whispered, pulling her closer. My heart hammered against my ribs as I fumbled for my phone, ready to call 911. Then, behind us, a voice called out, "Daniel, wait up." Mark came jogging toward us, his face flushed. Jason straightened up, hesitated, then swung onto his bike and roared away. Mark reached us, panting. "I saw him following you from the courthouse." I came as fast as I could. I stared at my brother, this man who had betrayed me and was now trying to make amends. The anger and gratitude warred inside me. Mia solved it for me. She let go of my hand and threw her arms around Mark's waist. "Thank you, Uncle Mark." As we drove home, with Mark following his car to help install a new security system, I realized something had shifted. The threats weren't over. I knew that. Lisa and Jason wouldn't give up so easily. But we weren't alone anymore. And that made all the difference. That night, as I checked the new security cameras for the third time, Mia tugged at my sleeve. "Daddy, can Uncle Mark read me a bedtime story?" I looked at my brother, who stood awkwardly in the doorway, hope and guilt warring in his eyes. I nodded. Maybe, just maybe, we could start putting the pieces back together. But as I listened to Mark's voice reading softly down the hall, I kept one eye on the security monitor. Because out there somewhere, Lisa and Jason were still a threat, and they weren't going to disappear quietly. The final stand. The security system beeped softly as I paced the living room, my eyes darting between the monitors every few seconds. 3 days had passed since Jason had followed us from the courthouse, and the tension in my shoulders hadn't eased one bit. The restraining order was just a piece of paper. It wouldn't stop a bullet if Jason decided to escalate things. Mia was coloring at the kitchen table, her tongue poking out in concentration. She'd been quieter than usual since the courthouse incident, jumping at every unexpected noise. The sight of her trying so hard to be brave broke my heart all over again. The doorbell rang. Both Mia and I froze. The camera feed showed Mark standing on the porch, holding 2 paper bags that smelled suspiciously like Chinese food. I exhaled and opened the door. "You look like hell," Mark said, stepping inside. He'd been coming by every day since everything went down, helping me reinforce the house, installing extra locks, trying to make up for what he'd done. Part of me was still furious with him. The other part was just grateful we weren't alone in this. Mia abandoned her coloring to dig into the food. "Uncle Mark, you got dumplings." "Of course I did, kiddo." He ruffled her hair before turning to me, his expression turning serious. "I heard from Lisa's lawyer today." My chopsticks paused halfway to my mouth. "And she's dropping the custody case." The words didn't register at first. "What?" Mark nodded. "Apparently Jason got picked up last night for violating parole. When the cops searched his place, they found photos of your house, Mia's school." He swallowed hard. "Lisa claimed she had no idea, but her lawyer advised her back off before she gets dragged down with him." I set my food down, my appetite gone. It should have felt like a victory. "So why did it just leave me hollow?" Mia looked between us. "Does this mean Mommy won't try to take me away anymore?" I pulled her into a hug. "It means you're staying right here with me, where you belong." Mark cleared his throat. "There's one more thing. Lisa, she wants to see Mia. Supervised, of course." Mia tensed in my arms. I could feel her little heart racing. "Do you want to see her, sweetheart?" I asked gently. She hesitated, then shook her head against my chest. "Not yet." "That's okay," I murmured, kissing the top of her head. "You don't have to." The days that followed were quieter. The police kept an eye on Jason, who was now facing serious jail time. Lisa stopped calling. And slowly, piece by piece, our lives started to feel normal again. One evening, as I was tucking Mia into bed, she grabbed my hand. "Daddy, are we safe now?" I smoothed her hair back. "Yeah, baby, we're safe." She smiled sleepily. "Good, because I like it here with you." Something inside me cracked open at that. All the fear, the anger, the sleepless nights. It was worth it. For this. For her. Downstairs, Mark was washing dishes in the kitchen. He'd become a constant presence, showing up with groceries, helping with homework, slowly rebuilding what he'd broken. It wasn't forgiveness. Not yet, but it was a start. I grabbed 2 beers from the fridge and handed him one. We clinked bottles in silence. No words needed. The security monitor beeped, showing nothing but an empty street and the soft glow of streetlights. No shadows. No threats. Just peace. We'd made it through the storm. If the story of courage and family resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more powerful, real-life journeys. Have you ever faced a moment where you had to stand up against all odds? Share your story in the comments below. We're all stronger when we stand together.